7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a special meeting of the Board of Education. Today is Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. Before we begin our meeting, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Jumping right into it, let's start with roll call. Mr. Hatfield.
All right, roll call. President McFarland.
Here.
Vice President Roush. Here. Secretary Hatfield is here. Treasurer Lauterbach.
Here.
Member Baker. Member Blasey.
Here. Member
Frazee. Okay. Everyone is here except for Patrick.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Moving on, we have requests to address the board. Mr. Rohn, you're up. Floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. I apologize that I'm having to wear my mask while I address you, but I'm currently a close contact to 2 COVID positive toddlers at home, so I'll be leaving my mask on out of respect for everyone in the room. I hope that it doesn't muffle my message today. I'm not here to badger the board, but to share my thoughts and experience. My name is Greg Rohn. I'm currently a paraprofessional at Jefferson Middle School and Vice President of Paraprofessional Local Union 6183. I'm here today for a few reasons. I first want to thank all of you for taking the time and stepping up and being willing to do your jobs at a time when probably no one wants them. The decisions you have to make, no one planned on making these decisions for Midland Public Schools, but here we are. I'm here to tell you that some of the staff at the schools are doing really well and handling the stress of COVID very well. But I'm also here to tell you that many, many, many more are not doing so well. Their mental health is suffering. Seeing our colleagues and students go out with COVID and other illness is disheartening. We know that COVID could be a death sentence for any one of our friends, family, students, or coworkers. We know the emotional, physical, spiritual toll that quarantine and isolation can take on a person. Being out of work or knowing we have many coworkers not at work not being able to help the young minds at school grow and learn is troubling. We also know that when these people are getting sick and not able to work, it puts those of us at schools even more shorthanded, meaning now staff that is pushed to the max has to do more. We must come up with new and inventive ways to make sure that all the classes in the schools are covered, or at a bare minimum that all the students are supervised and safe each day. In the schools where education happens, many students are struggling too. We are not just names and numbers on a spreadsheet, but educators, administrators, paraprofessionals, school staff, and students that are stretched to the max. Something has to give at some point. We also know that schools are the best place for young minds to learn and grow around trained professionals, not sitting at home in front of a computer with connectivity issues and distractions that home can bring. So the thought of closing schools also raises a lot of anxiety for everybody involved. This is seemingly a stuck between a rock and a very, very hard place, if ever there has been one. I am not here to tell you what the decisions are that you need to make. I'm simply here to implore you to listen to the experts in their respective fields as to what is happening in our community. I urge you to heed the advice and experience of medical professionals and educational professionals who are in the district schools who see what is happening each day. Take all the information you have available to you and make the decisions you know to be right in your guts, your heads, and your hearts. If anyone here would like to see what we are up against in the schools, I'd be happy to have any one of you join me for a day at school. I would be more than happy to share my experiences with you firsthand if you want that. If you would like, I'd be happy to share my contact information and we can talk privately, because I want to be a part of the solutions for Midland Public Schools and not a part of the problems for Midland Public Schools. I'm here to help kids get the education that they deserve. Once those decisions are made, though, is when the work can truly start. That is the time to clearly and concisely articulate the decision to our community and stand by it and be willing to do the work to make that decision work for everyone involved. Without a clear, concise statement of why a decision made, it leaves the community to wonder and hypothesize why a decision was made. And this, as I'm sure you have seen at board meetings previously, can cause a lot of problems. And proactivity always tops reactivity when young minds are at stake. One side or the other may yell very loud, but that does not make them right. What makes someone right is what makes them right, and what makes someone wrong is what makes them wrong. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to share with you today and the opportunities Midland Public Schools affords me as an employee and has afforded me as a student with the education to be able to be here today and to do the things that I am doing.
Mr. Roan, I'm going to stop you there. It's been 3 minutes, even though it's okay. I've been watching the time here. Thank
So
you.
since we didn't start the timer, can I actually have an extra minute?
You may not, sir. I'm
All
sorry.
right. Can I leave this with you guys so that you can finish
Absolutely.
reading the rest of what I was going to say? Because I'm passionate about what we're doing, and I feel for the kids, and there are people out there struggling, and I think you can hear it in my voice that I'm struggling too.
We appreciate you being here and appreciate your passion. Thank you. Yes, please leave that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry I have to leave, but I do need to get back to Jefferson because I have students now.
Okay. Mrs. Bonadis, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. My name is Renita Bonadis. As you know, you've seen me multiple months now, and I've been coming for some time. Concern I have is the failure of this board to follow its policies and bylaws. After the November meeting, in which you guys rammed through 14 bylaws, by number, no discussion, I approached Mr. Lauterbach. I was told by Mr. Lauterbach that it was discussed beforehand. I questioned the Open Meeting Act because it was never discussed in public, instead behind closed doors. And then I was questioned about whether I'd even read the Open Meeting Act. And then Mr. Lauterbach went on to ask me if I was a lawyer, and basically said if I wasn't a lawyer, I couldn't interpret the Open Meeting Act. And then Mr. Hatfield joined in.
Ma'am.
Yes, I'm going to tell.
Hold on.
Then
This
stop the
is
clock.
not, you can stop the clock, Jeff, that's fine. This is not the forum to personally attack the board members. If you have something to say, that's fine, but I will not allow you to attack everybody personally.
There is a point to this
Okay,
that
let's get to
addresses
the point
the
then.
board.
Thank you. Jeff?
The point being, this board has continued to ignore its bylaws. The superintendent has sent me a letter letting me know that this board is doing everything they're supposed to, and yet at the last meeting, you conveniently, after over a decade, dropped off the whole part of the meeting that requires approving of meeting minutes from study committees. That just happened to disappear from the agenda. There was no approval of meeting minutes. There was no reading of meeting minutes. There was no discussion about that being dropped off the agenda. So what has happened to the transparency of this board in this community? If your job as elected officials, excuse me, stop the clock if you're interrupting me.
We have to correct it. The meeting minutes were read, and they were approved. They've never been not.
It was not on the agenda. For the first time, it had been removed from the agenda.
No. Meeting minutes, any committee meeting minutes, that any committee meeting that met, and their minutes were read and approved. That's all.
There were action items on the agenda.
Okay, let's,
The point being, this board takes an oath to the Constitution and to do your jobs. Months before I even arrived, you had been called out on violating bylaws. You continue to not follow those bylaws. You don't work with the community. You're not open and transparent. It was justified that this board was allowed legally to cut down to one meeting a month instead of the two that had been done before Mr. Sharrow arrived. And the meetings, study committee meetings, have all been made private so that nobody can go in and hear what's discussed. Instead, we get to watch what happens in these meetings, which is just an agenda full of action items. I don't know how a business can have action items with no discussions and decisions being made behind the scenes. So this board is not being open and transparent. This community does not understand that you are not doing your jobs according to the election positions which you have taken. That concerns me as a community member and a taxpayer and a concerned parent of others that are in this community. So until this board decides they want to do the right thing, this board either needs to resign, be recalled, or be voted out at the next election because you're not doing your jobs. Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. is the end of requests to address the board. We're going to move on. Takes us to Board of Education matters, item 3.1 first of a series of action items. This is construction bid, district-wide renovations. Mr. Sherrill.
Yes, we are bringing you bid package number 22-201, which is part of the 2015 bond projects, which utilize Series 2 bond funds. Bid package 22-201 includes renovation of bathrooms throughout the district, primarily Adams, Seaver, Chestnut Hill, Clemens, and Woodcrest. There's 3 categories of work in there: general trades, plumbing, and electrical. All are low bidders for district-wide. So the difference on this one is there are low bidders per building, but the dollar amount of those are so low that the contractors would not accept those being split up. So we are looking for you to approve under general trades, E&L Construction Group out of Flint, Michigan, in the amount of $208,092. Under plumbing, Johnson and Wood LLC, Saginaw, Michigan, in the amount of $398,450. And electrical, that's electrical services out of Rhodes, Michigan, in the amount of $103,661. The total award for bid package 21-201 is $710,203.
Okay.
Make a motion that we approve bid package number 22-201.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Roush, support by Mr. Hatfield. Any additional discussion regarding item 3.1?
Was just curious, we're a little low on participation for this particular one. Is there anything that they could point a finger at to why that was? Because the other packages have better participation than this one.
Yeah, I didn't really ask that question, Brad, but my assumption is probably the dollar amounts of those projects. We are definitely getting down to the end where they may be not as interested in some of that work, so.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, item 3.2. Mr. Sherwood, do you want to continue?
Yes. So this is bid package number 22-203, which is again as part of the 2015 bond projects, Series 2 bond funds. The bid package 22-203 includes transportation bus lot improvements. And there's 2 categories there: electrical and site work. Under electrical, low bidder is Windmiller Electric out of Midland, Michigan for $205,077. Site work is Pat's Great All of Midland, Michigan for $623,500. The total bid for these bids for this package is $828,577, and we look for your approval to award this contract.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to accept bid 22-203, bus lot improvement.
Support?
Motion by Mr. Hatfield, support by Mr. Roush. Any additional discussion for item 3.2?
Mike,
Go ahead.
if we go with electric buses in the future, is there anything that will have to be undone, or they're leaving themselves enough space for running additional electrical and charging stations and all that?
Ironically, Mr. Mogenberg asked that question.
Okay.
And, not knowing where it's going to go in the future, but there would be some switch gearing that probably needs to go up, but the rest of the infrastructure would remain.
Okay.
Brad?
I had that same question, but also, when is this going to take place? Is this after school gets out? Or is this going to be
Spring, summer.
spring, summer?
Yep. So
And
the
then-
buses will be moved out of there, probably into, some of the space we have here, State Street and across.
So where do they get fueled?
Yeah, they do, and they'll either give us access, or we'll use the county city, which we've had agreements before with the county and city to go out there to use their depot. They put a small surcharge on it for us, but we've used it before.
Okay. And I think that there'd have to be major infrastructure to be
Yeah.
able to handle electric buses. It would, you might have to bring in a new service to handle that.
Right now, the movement is to gas. You know, we've been diesel for a long time. So all the future fleets, and when I first heard it, I wasn't sure I agreed with our transportation folks, and I began to do research on it. But all movement is back to gas busing. Lower maintenance costs, fuel efficiency's higher, the power they need out of it. So what a switch, because in my career it was all diesel, and now we're going back to gas. So there are some that use propane, but the expertise on propane repair is a little different too. So,
Other districts using electric? Like,
you know, I have not heard any yet, John, but I would guess probably some of your larger urban districts are. Yeah.
Anything else, guys? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to item 3.3, Mr. Sharrow.
Yeah, this is for Justin Hill boiler replacement, and this is bid package number 22-205, again, part of the 2015 bond project series 2 funds. And just one category here, Justin Hill boiler is the predominant, but there are some controls going at Midland High as well. And so the low bidder here is J.E. Johnson out of Midland in the amount of $560,400.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve bid package 22-205 to J. Johnson.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Roush, support by Mrs. Baker. Any additional discussion regarding item 3.3?
Any asbestos work with boiler removal?
No, so
Okay.
as Lynn was saying, we're giving her tenure here up a little bit. She was here during the sinking fund era when that boiler was replaced. So it's
Okay.
about 15 years ago, I guess, 14, 15. It was one of the original projects. So when we did our study in 2000, gosh, I don't know what that was, 13 maybe, huh? It wasn't on that original list, but now when we go back with where we stand with the extra dollars, it seems to make sense. It's only one elementary with an original boiler, so it's time to replace again.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. That takes us to number 4. We have a closed session item. This is consideration of attorney-client privilege communication pursuant to Section 8, Sub 1, Subparagraph H of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.2681H, regarding special education student complaint. So I will take a motion to move into closed session, followed by a roll call vote as part of that motion.
I move that we go into closed session to consider an attorney-client privilege communication pursuant to Section 8(1)H of the Michigan Open Meetings Act.
I support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Lauterbach, support by Mr. Hatfield.
All right, taking the roll call. Let's see, President McFarland,
Yes.
Vice President Roush,
Yes.
Secretary Hatfield is yes. Treasurer Lauterbach,
Yes.
Member Baker,
Yes.
Member Blasey.
Yes.
All right, all in favor of moving to open, close meeting.
Okay, at this point, folks, I'll ask you to clear the room.
And attorney will zoom him in, and he'll be on the screen in a minute when we're ready to go.
Great.